From the Weather Channel, a special presentation.
Hello, I'm Lisa Spencer. Welcome to the Weather Channel's special presentation, Nor'easter Winter's Hurricane. In this series, we introduce you to a storm native to the Atlantic coastline, a storm that has the potential to be just as destructive as a hurricane. We began with a look at three of the most powerful nor'easters in history.
Many nor'easters are blizzards.
Nor'easters can even be as powerful as some hurricanes are.
Nor'easters, most of the damage is caused by water, not by wind.
Throughout history, nor'easters have taken a significant toll on beaches and coastal communities along the eastern seaboard. The Halloween storm of 1991 was one of the most extreme nor'easters in the past 50 years.
It was incredible to see roofs of houses and sections of buildings floating in amongst the boats. It was just incredible. It was an absolute scene of devastation.
More than 1,000 houses were damaged or destroyed from Maine to the Carolinas. The storm's impact was felt as far south as Florida.
The storm suddenly intensifies. We were getting reports of mountainous seas and high winds.
Ships reported seas between 80 and 100 feet high. New England's beaches were devoured by 15-foot waves, and winds gusted to over 70 miles per hour. This nor'easter lasted almost 5 days and eroded over 1,000 miles of coastline.
I remember listening to the radio, and the reporter had said Baltimore's leading with 5 inches per hour.
By the time the President's Day storm of February 1979 was over, much of the mid-Atlantic region was buried under 20-plus inches of snow.
I opened up the front door, and you could see nothing. It was really the first time I truly saw what meteorology is called a whiteout.
Washington, D.C. was at a standstill, the Potomac a river of white. Around Raleigh, North Carolina, icy roads and runways made transportation almost impossible. The President's Day storm shows how much snow can occur with a nor'easter. The Ash Wednesday storm of 1962 struck the coast with surprising intensity.
In Ocean City, the entire town was underwater. After the water receded, there was sand everywhere.
It reached its peak the morning of March 7th. Rain, snow, sleet, and wind battered the East Coast for 5 days. When it was over, 33 people were dead, and damage totaled close to $200 million. This storm rearranged the coastline from New Jersey to North Carolina.
Even today, the shoreline is not the same as it was before the storm of March of '62.
Nor'easters will continually redesign North America's eastern seaboard, and the people who choose to live there will continue to rebuild. History proves that nor'easters rank high among nature's most destructive storms.
Some nor'easters can sit offshore for days at a time, gaining enough strength to devastate a coastline. While a nor'easter can cause damage similar to a hurricane's, it forms in its own unique way.
The landscape of the Northeast, an image of beauty that can be shattered by violent storms called nor'easters. A nor'easter's winds can reach hurricane force. This, combined with the broad area that they affect and the duration of the storms, can cause tremendous amounts of damage. Several factors bring the nor'easter puzzle together. The warm water of the Gulf Stream provides a natural source of warmth and moisture. An Arctic high-pressure system delivers a fresh supply of cold air over the land. This creates a large temperature contrast, setting the stage for the trigger, a strong disturbance embedded in the winds aloft. As this energy reaches the coast, the barometric pressure falls rapidly. Winds in the lower part of the atmosphere increase out of the east and northeast. These winds throw moisture back inland to interact with the cold air and produce snowfalls capable of bringing entire cities to a standstill. They also whip the seas into a frenzy. This pattern can linger for a long period of time.
As the low is moving to the north, it's blocked by the high pressure system, so it's sitting there out over the open ocean. If it maintains its intensity, you tend to get a stronger storm that's causing fairly high waves to form, and they're coming out of the northeast.
The October 1991 nor'easter lasted 5 days and destroyed over 1,000 homes.
Researchers have been intrigued by the nor'easter's destructive nature. Studies are now underway to show how damaging these storms can be to the shoreline.
Just one nor'easter can cause serious erosion, moving tons of sand and changing the structure of our beaches. But research is underway to help us understand this natural process. Not an ideal day to be at the beach, unless you require these conditions for scientific research. That's what's going on here at Duck, North Carolina, an extensive experiment to look at wave motion and sand movement.
And what we do is 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, is monitor the waves and the currents and the processes that affect the beach. And then we study how the beach responds. Does it erode? Does it build up?
Recently, more than 100 researchers using 35 experiments studied different geological, biological, and oceanographic features of the beach.
We have a few instrument packages that are located offshore in various positions on the beach. We're studying the evolution of bed forms in different types of wave energy situations.
Video cameras are in place to monitor wave and sediment movement. This video shows the effect of continuous wave motion on a sandbar over a 2-year period. More than 500 different instruments were used to carry out the field experiments.
The black line is the longshore current, and the red line is the cross-shore current.
All the data collected will be used by the scientists to build a picture of what happens to beaches during storms and what may occur in the future to our coastline.
That's the kind of question we're trying to be able to answer by doing these kinds of studies. By able to make some predictions, then we can hopefully then look for remedies that will allow us to retain these kinds of recreational facilities that we have in the way of beaches.
The study of our beaches is important to future generations. Research on nor'easters will help us understand erosion's role in nature's continuous cycle and aid us in protecting a vital natural resource.
Even though people know how damaging a nor'easter can be, they still choose to build along the coast. Here's the story of one town's fight for survival.
Chatham, Massachusetts is located right on the Atlantic Ocean. Its position makes it very vulnerable to coastal storms. The town's modern-day connection with nor'easters began with the winter storm of 1987. This particularly violent storm sent waves crashing through a long-established sand barrier. The barrier had protected the immediate shoreline from earlier nor'easters.
If the break moves south, then Morris Island and Horns Cottages disappear. If it moves north, Chatham Mars Inn disappears. That is inevitable. That is a function of the position of the break. I think the whole of Chatham, the taxpayers ought to be worried. Everybody ought to be concerned.
Homeowners watched in despair as their homes slid into the ocean.
It's an incredible thing to witness, yes. I don't think anybody can stand here during a 2 or 3 day nor'easter and watch what happens and not be totally taken by the power that Mother Nature can inflict on all of us. It's an incredible thing to see.
Subsequent storms have breached the barrier islands, creating a gap nearly 2 miles long. With that protection gone, erosion has become a major concern for residents with beach property.
Initially, we bought property on Pleasant Bay. We now own property on the Atlantic Ocean, which is not really what I bargained for. But now on a severe northeaster, with the breach, it just comes rolling right through the breach and across the sandbars, which can get a little unnerving.
The Halloween storm of 1991 destroyed 15 houses on a barrier island and caused damage along the main shoreline.
A lot of people were surprised at how rapid erosion occurred about a year after the break started. And there were storms in the meantime where people lost 60, 70 feet of beachfront in a single storm.
Even though Chatham faces an uphill battle with erosion, people are still moving to the coast.
People forget pretty fast, and it's a beautiful place to own a home. It's a very has a draw on you when you get involved in the environment here. But for people who live along the shore and are experiencing this on a day-to-day basis, you'll find rarely do they build.
The lure of oceanfront property is irresistible to some, but nor'easters are a reminder that the shoreline can be a dangerous place to live.
Will life along the Atlantic seaboard be any safer in the future? Meteorological trends show there could be more powerful nor'easters on the way.
December 1992, a major nor'easter strikes the coast from the mid-Atlantic to New England. March 1993, the superstorm paralyzes the eastern half of the country. And the winter of '94, one of the most active winter storm patterns for the Northeast in years.
Right now we're going through a period of time where we have a lot of extreme nor'easters, but the overall numbers are down.
Dr. Davis believes that we're seeing more extreme nor'easters because of a change in the circumpolar vortex, wind currents which surround the polar regions. Since the mid-1960s, the circumpolar vortex has expanded over the eastern United States and has forced the polar jet stream into what's called a meridional flow. This flow forces cold air into the southeast and can create perfect conditions for very powerful nor'easters. Jet streams during the December '92 nor'easter and March '93 superstorm show an extreme dip into the southeast.
So that fits in with my nor'easter research. It tends to indicate we should be getting perhaps bigger nor'easters because of this circulation change, more cold polar air masses over the southeast.
Severe nor'easters can be difficult to forecast, and indications of an approaching storm should be taken seriously.
So people on the coast need to be on guard at all times, but I would say particularly now.
You need to take some of the same precautions because both a nor'easter and a hurricane produce a very high storm tide.
Nor'easters are a fact of life for coastal residents. If the trend holds true, these people could be impacted by more of these great storms in the future.